This afternoon, Carlee Russell turned herself into the Hoover City Jail, where she was arrested for the following charges.
Hello there. Welcome back to Sustained Overruled. I am your host, the Anonymous Attorney. Carlee Russell has officially been charged. Let's take a listen.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, Hoover police detectives obtained warrants for the arrest of Carlee Russell through the Hoover Municipal Court for her actions related to faking her kidnapping and subsequently making false statements to detectives as they investigated this case. Her decisions that night created panic and alarm for the citizens of our city and even across the nation as the concern grew that a kidnapper was on the loose using a small child as bait. Numerous law enforcement agencies, both local and federal, began working tirelessly not only to bring Carlee home to her family, but locate a kidnapper that we know now never existed. Many private citizens volunteered their time and energy into looking for a potential kidnapping victim that we know now was never in any danger. This story opened wounds for families whose loved ones really were victims of kidnappings, some of which even helped organize searches in hopes they could find Carlee's alive so her family would not experience the pain and suffering that they felt when their loved ones never returned home. As we know, actions can have consequences, and that's why we're here today. This afternoon, Carlee Russell, with the assistance of her attorney, turned herself into the Hoover City Jail, where she was arrested for the following charges: false reporting to law enforcement authorities, Class A misdemeanor, $1,000 bond; falsely reporting an incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond. Each of these charges carry up to a year in jail and potential fine of $6,000 upon conviction. Ms. Russell was released from jail after posting bond. We initially presented this case to District Attorney Lanice Washington, who agreed to handle prosecution through district court. After consulting with the Circuit Court of Jefferson County Bessemer Division, the case was referred back to municipal court for charging because the only applicable charges were misdemeanors.
Right.
Judging from the amount of phone calls and emails that we've received from people all over the country, I know many are shocked and appalled that Ms. Russell is only being charged with 2 misdemeanors.
Why?
Despite all the panic and disruption her actions caused. Let me assure you, I too share the same frustration, but existing laws only allow the charges that were filed to be filed. I can tell you that I will be contacting our state legislatures on behalf of law enforcement in Montgomery and asking them to look at this law applied to these facts and urge them to add an enhancement to current legislation when somebody falsely reports kidnapping or another violent crime. Because of the attention this case has garnered, we've requested Attorney General Steve Marshall's office adopt this case, and they've agreed to do so.
We just heard from law enforcement. Before I give my commentary, let's take a listen to what her attorney had to say.
Well, tonight, the attorney of Carlee Russell speaking out after a meeting with the Hoover Police Department about his client, Carlee Russell, who recently faked her own disappearance.
It's a great meeting, a short meeting, just to try to identify some things about where we go from here, responsibilities that we need to take care of. But it was a great meeting, and I want to commend the Hoover Police Department and the Chief of Police for their action and how they have handled everything. So hopefully we can get to the end game, as they say, of this particular thing.
There we have it. Carlee has been charged with 2 misdemeanors. As I explained in one of my other videos, a misdemeanor is basically any crime which is punishable by a fine or jail time not exceeding a year. That's what a misdemeanor is. I am not surprised by the charges at all. Without a doubt, I was expecting falsely reporting an incident. That's a no-brainer. But in any event, I do not understand why law enforcement thought they could sustain a prosecution or even a conviction for a felony charge under these circumstances. But I did not expect her to be charged with anything other than a misdemeanor. I have more questions than answers. Initially, when it was reported that Carlee returned home, right, it quickly became obvious that something was not quite right. My first instincts when Carlee returned home were 1, hire an attorney, and 2, zip it. I, for one, strongly believe in the presumption of innocence as well as the privilege against self incrimination. I was completely floored when I watched the press conference and the chief read a statement by Carlee's attorney implicating Carlee. Carlee enjoys the privilege against self incrimination. Under no circumstances was she required to assist the prosecution in its case. The reason why Carlee was not arrested prior to her statement is because law enforcement did not have probable cause. So, through her attorney, Carlee gave law enforcement the very thing they needed to arrest her. Okay? She pretty much buried herself at this point. I do not see any point in going to trial at this stage. The only possibility or the only angle that I can see here is that they are hoping for either a fine or probation. That's the only angle that I see here. Other than that, from a legal standpoint, from a criminal procedure standpoint, it does not make sense, or it did not make sense, at least from my perspective, for Carlee to implicate herself or for her attorney to advise her to do so, unless they're really hoping for probation or they're hoping for a fine. The thing is, though, it's not guaranteed, because even if Carlee's attorney and the district attorney in this case agreed upon a proposed sentence or some type of plea bargaining, it's really up to the judge, right? The judge is not necessarily bound by whatever agreement the district attorney and Carlee's criminal defense attorney come up with. But then again, they might do things completely different in Alabama. This might be the Christian way to go about things. As far as the general public is concerned, it might be a good thing that she implicated herself. As far as her parents are concerned, it might be a good look, but from the standpoint of the constitutional rights and procedural rights and privileges that criminal defendants enjoy, it definitely goes against her interests. At this point, it's really for Carlee's defense attorney to mitigate the possible sentence, and I guess the confession or admission might work in Carlee's favor by showing that she is remorseful and accountable. And based on what the chief said in the press conference, they are looking to enhance the possible charges that could be brought against any other defendant in the future, right? It wouldn't apply, even if they pass the law, it wouldn't apply to Carlee because the law does not apply retrospectively. This to me just shows the type of hard line or stance that law enforcement or probably even the district attorney would like to take in the future as far as this charge is concerned. And I'll just recap by saying that as far as criminal law and criminal procedure is concerned, you have to separate the factual truth from the substantive truth. Okay, I will end on this note. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Should Carlee Russell have been arrested? If not, why not? And as far as the charges are concerned, do you believe the charges are fair? Or are they too excessive? Are they harsh? What are your thoughts on this? And then overall, really, what do you make of Carlee confessing or admitting to engaging in criminal conduct? I would like to believe that her attorney advised her not to incriminate herself, but obviously, the will of the client overrides an attorney's wishes. That's personally what I'd like to believe. In any event, I will see you in the next video.